Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We're halfway through the week, which I'm super excited because I feel like the first couple of days of this week really were a drag, especially at work. Like, I feel like my work days were extremely long, so I'm happy that we've hit the halfway point. I only have, well, aside from today, I only have 2 more days of work, so I'm really excited about that. And this weekend, I think it's going to be a pretty eventful weekend. I'm doing some stuff with my friends, doing some stuff with my family members, so I'm excited for the weekend. Hope everyone's Wednesday is off to a great start. Unfortunately, I am a little bit behind, so I do not have time to ramble on about the events that always seem to take place in my life. But let's get right into today's video. As always, God is blessing us. He's always going to be blessing us. So remember, this week our focus is to be quiet. Our February goal is stillness. We're talking about being still. First week we talked about being still. Last week we talked about rest and how important that is and how that relates to stillness. This week we are talking about being quiet. And again, if you watch Monday's video, which if you didn't, I would suggest to check it out. But if you watch Monday's video, being quiet is not just physical quietness. Like, obviously, we can't walk around mute. Now, I will say, like, if God ever called me to be a mute, I mean, obviously, I would have to. I think I would struggle. I definitely would struggle. I don't even think I'm a big... Anyway, it's not physical quietness. So we don't necessarily have to walk around being quiet all the time, or it doesn't mean like when we're saying that we're quiet, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are having moments in our day where we're just not saying anything at all. I mean, that may, be necessary for you in some situations, but when we're talking about quietness, we're talking about quieting ourselves so that we can hear best in regards to our purpose, in regards to God's plan for our lives, in regards to the direction that we're supposed to be going. So on Monday, we identified quietness or being quiet as not making any noise, okay? And again, not always physical, but, not making any noise. And then remember, there was another definition that went with that said it was best understood, being quiet is best understood through its antonyms. So loud, hectic, noise, disruptions, disturbances, all of that stuff. So today, what I want us to do is identify, really for the next 2 days, so today and tomorrow, what I want us to do is identify areas in our life where it's loud, it's hectic, it's noisy, and again, not physically, but a loud place or a hectic place or a noisy place or a place with disruptions and distractions are places that you don't have peace, that you're not experiencing joy. And I'm not just talking about every once in a while. Like, there's going to be places or there's going to be times in your life where things get hectic, okay? But I'm talking about like at your job. If you're not experiencing peace or joy or happiness at your job, or you haven't found your sense of purpose at your job, that may be a hectic or a noisy or a loud place, okay? Same thing with your significant other. If you're not experiencing joy, and granted, relationships are not supposed to coast on 100 every single time, but I'm saying if the majority of your time it's not joyful, it's not peaceful, like you're not experiencing any peace, you may need to reevaluate that relationship. And that's not just with your significant other, but that's with any relationship that you have, okay? If you're always giving but never getting in return, like that may be a loud or a hectic or a noisy place where it's calling for some quietness, okay? It's causing for some things to be muted. And muting some things could be honestly cutting yourself off from that person or that thing, that situation, or it doesn't really have to be that dramatic, because for your job, I would hate for you to like quit your job and you don't have anything set up. But it also could be dialing back into understanding what your purpose is. Remember, we can't get away from that. Dialing back into what your purpose is and understanding how it fits in with that situation. So with that job or with that person or in that relationship. If you can't find out what it is, then it's probably best to mute it. And by muting it, I mean cutting it off. Because you do not want to live a life that is full of noise. It's just very confusing. Have you ever, and I think I mentioned this example on my live last week with my brother-in-law, Will. Have you ever, when you're driving in a car and, you're driving, you're feeling good, you got the music bumping or whatever, And then it's time for you to parallel park. This one hits home for me because I lived in Cincinnati for 5 years, and I promise you, a majority of parking in Cincinnati is all parallel parking. Like when you're in the city, I'm talking about. So you're vibing out to your music or whatever, and now it's time for you to parallel park. What is the first thing that you do? You reach for the sound system to turn it down. Or if you're looking for someone, like if you've never been somewhere before, you plugged it into your map and you're looking for something, you finally got on the street, you're rolling up, you're trying to look at the house numbers. What's the first thing you do? You turn down the music, or you quiet everyone else in the house so that you can what? Folk in the house. You quiet everyone else in the car so that you can what? So that you can focus. When it's loud, it's hard for you to focus. And that's the same thing with our lives. When too much is going on, when it's too loud, when it's too hectic, when it's too noisy, in our lives, so in different situations, and we're not experiencing any peace, that is it's causing us not to be able to focus on our purpose, focus on what God is telling us to do, and focus on the things that we need, or in the direction that we're supposed to go, and the things that we need to do in order to get to our next stage in our life. So today and tomorrow, we need to identify the areas in our life that are noisy, that are loud, that are hectic, that are confusing, that are just not quiet. And we need to figure out what is the best way for me to bring quietness to that situation so that I can experience peace, joy, and so that I can focus more on the things that I am purposed to do in this earth. Okay, so that is our focus for today and tomorrow. So I hope everyone has a great Wednesday, a fabulous Thursday, and I will talk to you guys again on Friday. Bye.